Welcome to Northwynd 2, Episode 11. In this episode, I'm going to be doing an offering of blood in the Sands of Manectrin, and I am level 11. So let's take a look at where things are. I haven't done too many quests since the last episode. I did a couple of challenges because I want to, just in preparation for getting my next tier of Braces of Wind and Cloak of Flames. The next tier is level 11. Unfortunately, one of the challenges needed for one of the ingredients is level 12, so I'm not going to be able to upgrade those to level 12, but I am really looking forward to the extra goodies that the level 11 versions will have when I get those. That'll be my top priority once I take level 12. So, let's see. Since last episode, I just did some out here in the sands. I did Chamber of Karush. I started with Purge the Fallen Shrine, and I started with that in R1. I thought that might be kind of tough. When you get a champion Fire Reaver in there, they're doing like flame strikes at you. Those can be devastating. So I was a little bit nervous about trying to go beyond that, but R1 ended up being a lot easier than I thought. So then overconfidently I went into Chamber of Karush on R2. Which I had an easier time with that than the Chamber of Vermont, which is almost an identical quest. But you know, everything was going really easy, and I thought, oh, I should have just done this on R3. And then all of a sudden, you know, I run into a bunch of champions, and then there's a couple Reapers, and then you know, it's just that's the variability, that randomness that you get with champions and with Reaper mode, which creates a real chance for failure. That's one of the things I like about Reaper mode is, if you were a veteran player 2 years ago before Reaper mode, you knew the content, you knew what you were doing, you could just race through elites. There was no chance you were going to fail. It just was like a gimme, almost no challenge whatsoever in a lot of content. But now with Reaper mode, with that variability and with champions, too, on top of that, because you never know, you're going to get like triple crown champions with some awful abilities that are throwing nasty spells, etc., etc. So, that was a good reality check for me, and it made me realize that like that's about where this tune's capabilities are as far as solo. It's R2, and I think beyond that requires some luck, or what I should say is beyond that, if I get some bad luck, trying to do like R3 or above, and get some bad luck with Reapers and Champions, then I'm gonna be toast. So probably not gonna see anything beyond R2 for me for the rest of Heroics. But if I do feel like, if I start to get overconfident, it's a really good dose of humble pie sometimes to try to step it up and get served. And then I had a group up for those, and then halfway through Karush, somebody joined it, and then it was just it was an example of somebody who didn't want to follow instructions. We were doing Karush, so you break everything you break in there spawns more mobs, and I was like, don't spawn, don't break stuff, please. You're gonna spawn more mobs, and he just kept doing it, and then he's racing through the dungeon, getting a red dungeon alert, aggroing Fear Reapers, like it almost killed me, like it was, just kind of a nightmare scenario. You really got to work together to be successful in Reaper mode. It's one of the most important things. You can't just run around all Willie Nelson. You really want to stick together, work together, and that's gonna be clutch, and it's gonna make a better experience. But got that done. Avoided the death. It was so close. It just doesn't get any closer. And then I did raid the Valkurum. Did that on R2. And that was another one where like it started to go a lot better than I thought it was going to. Was thinking maybe should have done R3, and then ran into a bunch of Champ Scorpions and some Reapers again, and it was like, okay, I'm at R2 level right now. That's kind of that really cemented that idea in my head. And then the others that I had done up here, those I had done at previous levels to try to get the belt. All right, enhancements. So I picked up a point of Constitution in Nature's Protector, and that way I'm at odd Constitution now, but when I go into Reaper mode, I'll benefit from this point of Constitution, so I'll be at an even Constitution inside Reaper dungeons. And then I also pick up the top tier of Wax and Wane, so it's 2 more crit chance of spells of my current season. I've been running in winter, right there, because winter is cold and electric, and that's, you know, I want my Call Lightning and my Creeping Cold to hit, and my Greater Creeping Colds now to hit as hard as possible. Next level I'll get tier 5, which will be nice. I just showed you the Reaper points, still have 5. Probably not going to get the 6 point until a couple levels from now. Let's see, the Wolf. I didn't mention the Wolf enhancements last time. Remember, staying away from abilities like Alpha Wolf and Growl that draw more aggro to the Wolf. I'm really trying to reduce aggro on the Wolf because he can die pretty easily. He's still helpful. I'm still finding him helpful, and that's one of the things that has surprised me most about the series so far, is that I'm really enjoying using the Wolf. He's helpful in Low Skull Reaper. I think if I started bumping it up to R3 and probably by R4, the Wolf is probably not going to be so helpful anymore. But, you know, who knows? Maybe if I had Augment Summoning and I had 3 Druid Pass lives and some other stuff to help the Wolf out, maybe the Wolf could be useful into mid skulls. But I want to say I was trying in Gingerspyce at mid skulls and it just wasn't working out. But I don't think I was taking Augment Summoning anymore. So got up to Wolf Instincts 4. Cunning Wolf reduces aggro by 40%, and that's Cunning Wolf 4. And then Wolf Instincts 4, it's more saves versus traps. I've had Lupine Onslaught. I think I've had Thick Fur 2 for a while. Striding 3 I think is new, and up to Wolf Pack Bite 3. On the equipment side, I'm still using the same armor I've been using I think since level 8. It's got good guard and fire absorption, so what the hell. And heavy fort in there, and then still the level 9 Vorpal Collar of Stabbing 6. Not a bad collar. On the spell side, got Greater Creeping Cold. This is such an awesome spell. Very, very powerful in heroics, even powerful beyond that, but there's a little bit of a trap that people newer to Druid can fall into. This spell is so awesome and so powerful that people who are newer to Druid tend to want to just start spamming it on everything, and if you do that, you're going to run out of mana really quick. You really have to be disciplined about mana conservation on lower spell point casters like Druids, like Wizards, like Clerics. And as I've emphasized, you really want to stick to SLAs as much as possible to conserve mana. That doesn't mean you shouldn't use Greater Creeping Cold. I like, you know, to save it for bosses, to save it for tough champions, or maybe even a Reaper. But unless it's an emergency situation, I'm not going to use it on other mobs. I'm really going to try to stick to the SLAs and AoEs. And I also picked up Word of Balance. Next level I'll have that as an SLA, but right now I just have the regular version. This is also a very powerful spell, but because, you know, when I get the SLA, I'll be using it as part of my regular spell rotation. But the regular version of the spell, I just have it for emergencies. It works great on Reapers, so that's nice. This is one of just a couple spells that a Druid has that has a spell penetration check. So, as I mentioned in my build post, this is a great spell. It does have a spell pen check. Probably not worth going out of your way to get extra spell penetration, like through gear and stuff on a Druid. You know, Finger of Death is the other one. I'll talk more about that when I get to it. But you know, if you can fit in a piece of gear, great. But I definitely wouldn't start taking feats like spell penetration and greater spell penetration on a Druid. You know, really, I would encourage you to stick to the spells that don't have a spell pen check, which is, you know, virtually all of your spells. Like I said, literally only 2 spells that you have with a spell pen check, and that's Word of Balance and Finger of Death. So the SLA is super cheap. If it hits, great. If it doesn't, no big deal. But like I said, it's really nice against Reapers. So if you get a Reaper that you need to take out really quickly, Call Lightning, Word of Balance works great. And I think I also picked up Dominate Animal. I don't even have it loaded up, but It's kind of neat, you know. It's this particular dungeon that I'm going to be doing does have scorpions, charm animal and dominate animal. Works on not just animals, but vermin and magical beasts as well. So scorpions, for example, and they have very low saves, so you're going to hit virtually every time with it. I don't think there's anything else worth mentioning on the spell side right now. Let's talk about gear. I'm going to start with the armor. I glossed over this last time thinking that I had it in the previous video, but I didn't. You know, last video was the first time that I showed this armor, and this is such an important piece that this is one that I farmed for, and I actually had to farm quite a bit for it. I had really bad luck pulling this one, and I spent quite a few shards re-rolling the chest. This comes out of black and blue, and I mentioned it at the end. I talked more about it at the end of the Tempest Vine video, but you know, I really wanted to emphasize it at the beginning of this video that this is the lowest level heavy armor that a druid can wear. Druids must wear non-metal armors. This is made out of Blue Dragon scale, and before level 10, your only option is medium armor. So this is the first heavy armor that becomes available for you. It is a great set of armor. You can wear it right up through heroics. I'll be switching probably to a different armor at 14, which I'll talk about at the time, but this has great stats. Quality Con 1, Vitality 19, Quality Physical Sheltering, Parrying 2, got Mythic 2 as a boost, slotted with Heavy Fortification. So this is not only, you know, it's great armor for me because it has a lot of defensive properties to it, but really for any caster druid, I do encourage any caster druid to use heavy armor. I used to do that before heavy armor proficiency was auto grant because I felt like the feat was worth the extra PRR, but now you can get the heavy armor proficiency feat for free through Magical Beast Tier 3 innate in the Nature's Protector tree, and you only need to spend 11 action points to get that, and those aren't junk action points. You get really meaningful benefits out of that. So even if you're not like a tanky caster like I am, even if you're just more of a pure caster druid, it can be worth spending 11 points in Nature's Protector to get a lot of extra spell points and, or excuse me, hit points and PRR and MRR. Plus you get the heavy armor proficiency. So, you know, with heavy armor, you don't have as high dodge, so you know, maybe you prefer to go to dodge route with medium armor. That's a personal choice, but heavy armor can be great even if you're just a pure caster and not a tanky caster like I am for Druid. Okay, so still got the big spell points in the Vibrant Purple Ioun Stone. I've got my Torque of Prince Rayum. This was the big item that I farmed for when I was preparing for this life. And I actually had knocked out 20 completions between the last 2 episodes, or by the last episode of the first series, but this item didn't appear on my 20th list, and I was a little heartbroken about that because I wanted to talk about it in the final episode, and I didn't get it. So, you know, in the 2 years leading up to this series, you know, knowing that someday I wanted to revisit this tune, I knew I wanted to do a sequel to this series before the first series ended. I had a lot of fun in that first series, and I thought it'd be really neat to revisit it someday. So in the middle of the night when nothing was going on my main server, I would occasionally pop on over here in Caneth and run a Demon Queen raid. And that was an important way to fill out my Epic Destinies, because the pre-raid and the raid, that together, that's a decent amount of Epic Destiny XP, so I actually filled those out quite a bit just doing that. And after racking up another 20 completions, thankfully, it was on my 20th, that 40th list. So I'm really glad that I didn't have to do that again, because I just got this item just a few weeks before I started this series. And if I had to go to that 60th list, that would have put this series off even more. So what's awesome about this item, if you're not familiar with it, and this comes from the Demon Queen raid, is that it has an ability that only 2 items in the game have this ability, and it's the Transform Kinetic Energy, and it says each time you are hit in melee combat, there's a chance that the energy of the blow will be converted into spell points. So when you get hit, there's a chance that you get spell points. Now for normal casters, this is just a situational item. Normal casters are trying not to get hit, but as a tanky caster, I'm getting hit all the time. And so this is actually generating a lot of mana. I mean, this thing is like a mana generating machine for me. It's not a necessary piece of gear for the build. It's definitely not even an optimal piece of gear, but I enjoy using it. I think it's fun. It generates a lot of mana, and a lot of people will say, you know, well, just get a Concordant Opposition Green Steel. There is no comparison between the two. Concordant Opposition Green Steel procs very rarely, and I'm talking about Heroic Green Steel. This procs all the time. I have a video, and I'll put a link in the video description, where I decided to one day actually tally up during the course of running a quest how much spell points it was giving me, and I think I was doing legendary breaking the ranks, or epic breaking the ranks. And at the time, you know, I knew it procced a lot, but I didn't have a feel for how much it really was. So I had no idea when I when I was doing the video, was I going to tally up 300 or 400 spell points? Was it going to be 500 or 600 spell points? I didn't know, and it ended up being like 2,500 spell points over the course of that quest, and I was just blown away by that. So it's a really, really powerful ability, and that's probably one of the reasons why they don't want to, you know, add more items with this ability, because, you know, that really cuts into their store spell point potion sales. So. It also has Spell Pen too. That does help Word of Balance, right? I'm not going out of my way to get that. It was really about the Transform Kinetic Energy, but hey, I'll take that too as a little perk. Wizardry 3 doesn't stack with the Ioun Stone, but it's a fun item. And so when you're seeing little blue points over my head, that's this proccing. Still got the Crafted Defensive 14 hat, a Spell Focus 2, slotted with False Life. Got some Poison Resistance on there as well. Now I got Wisdom 6 on the goggles with Insightful Concentration 5. I'd like to have a better secondary ability, but this is the best I could find, and I can't craft better than that. I already talked about the armor. Braces of Wind. This will be the last video that I show the level 7 version. I'll have the level 11 version next episode. And this is a new crafted item, so my second crafted item. How cool is that? Glaciation 80, Constitution 6. I didn't have high enough levels to put anything in the extra slot. I would have loved to put Insightful Constitution 2 in there, but that requires much higher crafting levels than I have. Don't have anything in the green slot right now. I will probably put Death Ward in there. Next level, Death Ward is a level 12 augment, and yes, you should be running, or Death Block. You should be running with a Death Block item, even if you can cast Death Ward, because there are going to be times in which your Death Ward is going to be dispelled, or it runs out and you don't realize it. And Beholder, Anti-Magic, whatever, you want to have that backup. You don't want, you know, if your Death Ward runs out or gets dispelled, you know, you don't want to get stuck rolling a one against a Phantasmal Killer or an enemy's Finger of Death. You know, you want to have that backup protection, have that death block going. It's an augment, level 12, so, you know, hopefully you have an extra yellow slot, and you can just put that in one of your slots without, you know, making much of a fuss about it. On to the boots. These are the same. Feather Falling doesn't matter because I get that through my enhancement. The Autumn Winds. But really happy to have Striding 30. I would like to find a set of speed or 30% striders with a good secondary ability. I just haven't found anything. Still got the Blurfinger gloves and the Band of Insightful Commands. Also comes out of Black and Blue. This comes out of Into the Mist. And my Thrumming Spark Cord, which I was so happy to get. This comes out of Wrath of the Earth. Big Stacking Glaciation. And also where I'm getting Ice Lore from, the Lightning Lore is redundant. Or actually it's one higher than the Braces of Wind, as I showed last level. And then Combustion and Fire Lore on the Cloak of Flames, with the little bonus of Heightened Awareness one. On the feat side, nothing's changed for level 11. I haven't mentioned skills in a long time, and I said I wasn't going to, but just want to show you that things are progressing even better than I thought. I am able to put a bunch of points in balance, maxing out concentration, maxing out intimidate. I've maxed out heal at this point. Spellcraft is maxed out. UMD is, I think, yeah, that's maxed out. So, yeah, I've got all the skill points I want. Okay, let's get to the quest. Alright, we're going to give this a try on R1. Actually just failed an attempt at R2, and I knew that was going to be very ambitious to try to solo at R2. This is a tough quest, and there are a couple of things that make it tough. One is that you got constant respawns, so there's not really any downtime to stop and heal and maybe bring the Leary out and gas up. And another thing that makes it tough is there are lots of mobs in here that dispel your buffs, and that's one of the things that makes Raid the Bokurum tough, is that there are mobs in there that are constantly dispelling. So I'm not going to bother with a lot of buffs, just going to stick to like Spring's Resurgence and like the wands and clickies that I have, so I don't waste my mana. I don't think that I mentioned the Ring of Spell Storing. This is a great spell point, low B spell point clicky. It does come out of a rare chest in the back of the undead area in the Sands of Manectrin, and this was a leftover from my first life. I think I pulled 2 of these that first life, and I sold one of them to make some plat. You know, if you're a newer player, this can be one way that you can build some wealth, that you can try to build some wealth, is that as soon as you get to level 8, go out into the Sands of Manectrin and farm that Ring of Spell Storing chest. And it's a pretty rare drop, but if you get one, you could sell it for quite a bit of plat, or maybe even about 100 shards. I also picked up some Scrolls of Displacement. I don't have a very good chance to cast that. Let's see. Even with greater heroism and my little mask, 40%. So, you know, at this level range on Gingerspyce, I would be using Scrolls of Displacement constantly. But I just don't have the UMD on this tune to be using it much. Let's go ahead and pull a summon out. Can distract some mobs. So when I died in the R2 run, it was at the first shrine. I just took too long and mobs were just constantly respawning and I ran out of mana. And then my second death came, not surprisingly, at the first mini boss fight right about in the middle of the quest. That's a tough fight. A lot of mobs in there, and just couldn't keep myself healed. They're dotting me up, and you know, it's rough. So I'm not surprised at all that I died. It was very ambitious to try to solo this on the second life run R2. Let's go ahead and hit him with the Greater Creeping Cold. Oh no, he's tearing up. You can't intimidate a scorpion. He's tearing up Mirage. Grab the stone, that sucks. Constant respawns here. I can charm these scorpions. There'll be some distraction. I just got to keep moving in here, and with self-healing being so debuffed in Reaper mode, and I don't have any heal lamp on this tune, it's tough. Throw down some weeds, ice storm, sleet storm. I think I'm pinned in here right now. Okay. Try to throw Mirage a couple heals here. Sleet storm still going. We'll pull these guys back into it. Petrifying Runestone on the champ. Mirage's Spring's Resurgence just proc with the leaves on the ground, so I gave him a fresh one. Champ's tearing him up. stun the caster there with the Salt Ray. And I'm gonna try to keep moving. Get this bridge up so mobs can't follow. And keep moving. I do have some potions I can use. I haven't used any potions this life, and I have some little ones that are taking up inventory space. I wouldn't mind. I don't have any qualms about using because, like I said, they're kind of just taking up inventory space at this point. They got Mirage. This is the fight that I died at. I'm going to put on Spell Absorption. Greater Creeping Cold. Yep, let's go ahead and use up a pot. Stone, try to keep moving. Ooh, I can charm those Scorpions, the Manectran Crushers, not the ones that are like spawn of Valkur, because they're actually coded as like, I don't know, gods or something, so they can't be charmed, but the regular Scorpions can be. Throw a couple heals. Don't want to wait too long. Up. Use my little clickies. Fear Reaper. 2 Fear Reapers. That's great. The other one with Greater Creeping Cold, that should take him out. Another Call Lightning on that one, takes care of him. And now I'm using these guys, regular elixirs of Mnemonic Enhancement. And we're going to need the Sleet Storm and the Ice Storm and the Weeds. And I need that Lost Soul. Mobs just keep coming. Charm all 3 of those Scorpions. There's another pot. Ice Storm, Sleet Storm, weeds. They debuffed me, so I didn't have my freedom on. So gotta have that so that I don't slip and slide in my own sleet storm. Remnant yoink. Couple heals. And keep moving. Pull these guys back into the slip and slide here. Oh, these scorpions are coming uncharmed. They have like no saves. You know, you're gonna hit like every time on something like a scorpion or spider with charm animal. Alright, shrine time. Probably try to take out some of these mobs here. Have to come back through here. Torquing up a little bit. I can use the mana off that torque to kill them. Defenses are good enough. I'm taking some hits, but doing okay. Okay, well, at least those guys are taken care of. Now we can come down here and shrine and get our 4 collectibles. This is intense. One, 2, 3, 4. And if you want to play a gag on your friends that don't know the quest, tell them this light pick can one-shot the boss. That's a pretty funny thing to do. And watch him swing that thing at the boss. Pull out a summon, why not? Only got about 3 minutes left on the Yugo pot, so we need to down a fresh one of those. Why am I buffing? Oh, let's get healed up first. So close. This is a flagging quest for the Demon Queen raid, along with Wiz King and Chains of Flame. And I'm gonna avoid the lightning ramp and just go over the top. Like so. champs. Champs, champs, champs. Does he want to get stoned? Yes, he does. Take him out. Oh, I left my spell absorption on. That's a hit to my spell points. Oh well. One shot him. Vorpaled him. I think Mirage actually gets the credit for that kill. He's rocking Vorpal too. Okay. Boss fight! This one can be tough. I'm going spell absorption, and I wish I hadn't left it on because I don't have many charges left. That sucks. He's already eaten it up, so I'm gonna put on my Mantle of the World Shaper. My backup spell absorption. This caster hurts. Greater Creeping Cold. Doesn't that mantle look nice? I love the graphic on it. He's chewed up all my mantle. But I've chewed up all his hit points. And that's that. So R1 was still a challenge, but much more reasonable than the R2 try. Well, thanks for watching. As always, if you have any questions about my videos, you can respond on YouTube. And if you have any questions about my build, you can respond to my build post in the Druid forum.